time for the one and the only show. It's the Luke Howard Show, and guess what? It's live! Thank you! Thank you very much! Thank you! I'm doing it because it's our last show of the week. No! I mean, I'm doing it twice. As it was our last week of the show, I just thought that, well, I would do a round of applause to me, of course, the one and the only Luke Howard. Hello, morning everybody. It's Thursday the 7th of May. And of course, it's not just, well, it's our last show. What am I talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about there. What I'm saying is, it's our last show of this week. No! I'm very upset because tomorrow is a very special day. It's very close to me. It's a VE day, and of course, it's the VE weekend. So we're taking the weekend off this weekend, so I'm having a little break, of course, as well. And of course, it's VE day tomorrow, so I'm doing lots of celebrating tomorrow. So I thought, well, we might as well start all the celebrations and stuff on today's show. So I thought, okay, I've got two great big stories to talk about the VE Day, and then I want to play you some old music like Boogie Woogie Moogle Boy, and we've got Magic Moments, we've got Dream Boats, we've got all the old music from those times. So sit back and relax and enjoy the one and the only show for the last time this week, because after today I won't be back till Monday. No! Yes, I'm off for 3 days and I shall be back on Monday. Oh, I'm going to miss you lot, I really am. It's only 3 days, it doesn't matter. One of them I'm not here anyway, it's a Sunday, but it doesn't matter. So I'm here today and then I'm off tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, back on Monday. Blimey, 3 days off, wow, I'm only used to having 1 day off. So so we've got lots to get through on our last show of the week, which is what I'm very upset about. So, okay, so we're going to talk about this story about Churchill. Now, the famous VE Day celebrations, it never actually it almost never took place, is what I'm trying to say, because the government, they feared that they would lead to food shortages. Now, there was documents that they have all revealed in documents, so it was also, well, worried that many people would use the celebration as a prolonged holiday to take too long off work, like myself, of course. So, VE Day celebrations this year, well, they're to take place over a whole weekend, as I said. After Friday, May the 8th, it will be declared as bank holiday, of course. But coronavirus has meant that there have been cancellations, of course. Now, we're supposed to be having a tea party right outside our house tomorrow, a big tea party. A really, really, really big one, right? Big tea party. And I'll tell you something about it, right? We're all not going to be getting near each other by the sound of it. And our next door neighbours, they've got little kids, bless them. Our hearts are with our next door neighbours. They're so lovely. And we can't go out on the green, so we'll just have to have, because we've got a big green outside our house. So we'll just have to have it outside our house on our little green, which is alright, it's fine. We've got a little thing outside our house, so that's alright. Right, so the celebrations this year were, of course, take place tomorrow, and it's also to mark a day from home, of course. Now, government files from April 1945 show that had one proposal under consideration at the time by Churchill's War Cabinet that had been adopted. Now, there would not even have been an official VE Day at the end of the Second World War. Now, freedom disruption to virtual industry. If the Pacific Day was declined, a committee set up by the Cabinet to extreme issues continued to marking the end of the war, and it suggested that there should actually be no official victory in Europe Day, which is terrible because there should be a victory in Europe Day, like tomorrow, of course. Tomorrow is a victory in Europe Day. So the committee reported on April the 25th, 1945, that if the government were to announce that there will be no special day declared as VE Day, it's also explained the reasons for this. The risk that large numbers of people will stop work on the announcement of VE Day, and that many of them, well, may take prolonged holidays, and it would be eliminated. Now, instead, it suggested that, should it be announced, that while there will be no VE Day and no public celebrations of the terrorisation of hostilities, in Europe it is completed that there would be special Thanksgiving services. The committee had also advised that Churchill's cabinet that a national holiday to mark victory over Nazi Germany could ever lead to food shortages. The baking industry has pointed out to the Ministry of Food that difficulties may arise in the distribution of bread, owing in the fact that on VE Day and the following day, many of the retail shops in which bread is sold will be closed, they warned. So, if VE Day fell on a Friday, this difficult would be, and stinted, since the shops would be closed on 3 consecutive days. Others felt that victory celebrations while British forces were still fighting, and the Japanese in the Far East would be appropriate with the committee, and nothing there had been objections urged, and it also expressed in various quarters in any official celebrations before the defeat of Japan. They added that there is a risk that celebrations may encourage among members of the forces and civilizations in relaxation of spirit, and which they have an adverse effect on the conduct of a war in the Far East. So the cabinet declared an official VE Day must be held victory in Europe, and was declared on May the 8th, 1945, the day after German General Alfred Jody signed the instrument of surrender at Eisenhower's headquarters in Reims, France, and was made a national holiday. At 3 p.m, Churchill gave a rousing victory speech to huge crowds from the balcony of Ministry of Health buildings. This is in Whitehall in London, by the way, declaring it a victory, of course, of freedom in every land. Which is amazing. So, and Antiques Roadshow, Antiques Roadshow has revealed the hidden role of D-Day sweepers. This is top secret documents revealing a key operation that paved the way for the D-Day landings and have suffered the first time on Antiques Roadshow. The file on Operation Neptune, the naval side of the operations presented on tonight's programme, reveals the crucial role, the other night's programme actually, on even role about, the documents which were kept by Royal Naville reservist Alexandra North Hardy, who served on HMS Harlany, a former private yacht turned, minesweeper, which operated off the coast of France on June the 6th, 1944. So we'll leave that one there because it goes on and on and on, would you believe? So, very interesting. Now, Britain is also maybe in lockdown, but people can still, though, show their support for veterans. So what can you do, I hear you cry? Well, if you go outside your house, have a tea party, and all of that, that's one of them, and you can go... to celebrate the 70th anniversary of VE Day next month, the Royal British Legion Industries has launched the Tommy in the Window campaign, so where the public can display soldier figures to show their thanks, which is absolutely amazing. Now, figures and window displays have been made by injured veterans and disabled people working for Britain's bravest manufacturing company, a social enterprise factory in Kent run by the RBLI. Now, VE Day, which is tomorrow, had lots of events that were planned for the bank holiday weekend, but of course have to cancel due to COVID-19. In other words, cancelled because of COVID-19. And it was also because of the coronavirus crisis, and proceeds made from the sales of Tommy soldier figures will go towards supporting ex-servicemen and women in care homes, as well as those facing the crisis alone in lockdown. Veterans will also receive iPads so that they can take part in online celebrations organised by the RBLI. Now, the charity is even running dancing lessons in the run-up to May the 8th, so supporters can perform traditional 40s movies in their living rooms to celebrate the day. We're going to do it right out in our front garden, so that's what we're going to do, which is great. So, I want to talk about the royal side of VE Day now. Now, when Princess Elizabeth II went into the crowds on the night of VE Day, it was her one and only experience of being, in collateral, just another pretty young woman in a uniform in the crowd, crowding into the Mall, shooting to see the King and Queen on a balcony of Buckingham Palace. It was, might for Britain's young to enjoy themselves, and all entirely new to the princess, who, although 19, had lived a very sheltered life in Windsor Castle during the war, which is true, and the princesses were overwhelmed when happiness with the war was over. And she also knew that the unique normal, they gave her a freedom, and she had never had a world never have again, which is believed, well, the world would never have again, of course. And Elizabeth had been watched and discussed and photographed increasingly from birth, and she was dancing without being talked about. And she was, well, for the first and last time, truly among the people who was to reign over the night and helped Elizabeth understand real people in a way that monarchs up to then had not done. And this was vital to her when she did take over. So unlike any monarch before, she was across the world 42 times to meet subjects and the population of other countries. Now, allowed a reality TV show to help to film her family, is keen to meet people directly, and she addresses for people directly in times of crisis. Only a few weeks ago, she spoke directly to the nation about the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, with the words that which I have to say again, we shall all meet again, but we don't know where, and that is exactly what she said. And the Queen is an amazing lady, I must say. She's absolutely amazing. And our thoughts, of course, are with her at this moment, of course. Well done, Queen Elizabeth, for that wonderful speech you made a few weeks ago. Yeah, there's a round of applause for you. There you go. Woo! And that was just for you, our Royal Highness, Queen Elizabeth II. So young Princess Elizabeth's night out celebrating VE Day on the streets of London, well, it helped turn her into a queen like no other. It was the one night in the life of duty when Britain's future monarch was allowed to slip the golden leash of royalty. For the few hours Elizabeth just turned 19 spent the evening that marked the end of the war in Europe, with hundreds of thousands of her father's subjects would come to celebrate. It would have been a cruciate, and it says that much about her parents' faith in their daughter's commission, since that the sister Margaret, just 14, was allowed out of the palace, well, in Crunsea. But historians and insiders, they've been saying that it is a unique night where they're truly connected with the people. So royal historian, the wonderful Kate Williams, of course. Hello, Kate Williams, I can see you on the paper. But I can't. You're not near me, but I can see you on the paper, on my script. Picture of her on my script now. And the night of the VE Day helped Elizabeth understand real people in a way that monarchs up to them and did and had not done. And the connection was vital. It was vital, very vital. And it was also a night for her. Yeah, we know that. And it was told in 2015, a 2015 movie, A Royal Night Out, which began at 9 p.m. when 16 family, friends, and aides supplied from a Buckingham Palace side door as a cheering mob surrounded gates and trailed down the Mall. There was childhood friends and cousins, and Margaret Rhodes and group, Captain Peter Townsend, his name is, and the dashing Spitfire pilot who would capture Margaret's heart, French tutor Constance Tony de Blaggy, and Lord Porchester, and lifelong friend of Elizabeth, which is amazing. In a few steps, they were in the thick of the biggest, roadiest party Britain has known. The Conti said that the King drew a line about Piccadilly Circus, which was to be avoided. The line was not too much crossed as trampled on. Lord Porchester said that it was very jolly, linking arms and singing "Run Rabbit Run." So if I could say "Run Rabbit Run, Rabbit Run, Run Run," that song. So and of course, hanging out the washing on the Slides Fried line, rolling out the barrel, sighed Margaret Rose. Trafalgar Square was jammed. It was a scene of joyful whoopee. Now people whoopee, as I can say, whoopee. I love saying that. Now people kissing a policeman, yuck, and other people complete mayhem, but rather nice mayhem, would you believe? So for some reason, we all decided to go into the front door of the Ritz. The Ritz, darling. You heard me? The Ritz, darling. And the Queen has recalled that I remember lines of people linking arms and walking down Whitehall. All of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief. Now, towards 11:30 at night, the princesses were being steered back to meet their father's midnight deadline. Now, Elizabeth said that we were very successful in seeing my by my parents on the balcony and having cheated slightly by sending a message into the house to say that we were waiting outside. The party snuck in through a garden gate. The girl's mother was received and served from them, and sandwiches. She was serving sandwiches, and she made herself for Elizabeth. The experience was transformational. In a few brief hours, she had been closer for her future subjects than any monarch before or since. It was one of the most memorable nights of my life, she said. So absolutely amazing. And of course, our gracious Queen, Cecil Beaton's stunning portrait. There's an amazing portrait in the papers. There was actually the other day in the papers, there was an amazing picture of the Queen and when she was